Once again, thank you all for being here. This has been a long and winding road, as I'm sure it's been for many of you all. But I really do appreciate you being here. I want to take this time to properly introduce this environmental study and really fully communicate its future implications by giving an acknowledgement to the Alsea, Tillamook, Chinook, and Squaxin people. For without their lands, and sovereign land use practices, I might have never been able to craft and share this story. Without the gift of their time and territories, we might never have known the Oregon silver spot butterfly, Speyeria Zerene Hippolyta, and its once ubiquitous host plant, the early blue violet, Viola Adunca. So, with my research project, I really wanted to explore the restoration and enhancement of the early blue violet through and associated plant species for the larval development of the Oregon silver spot butterfly through in Pacific Northwest coastal prairie ecosystems using coconut coir mats. So what is a coconut coir mat? Well, we can think of that as coconut husk, the outer layer of a coconut. And these mats came from Sri Lanka and were grown out in Aberdeen. So got a great quote here, which of the literature that I reviewed, a book came out actually right as when the pandemic hit. Last book I got out of the library by Michael J. Samwise on insect conservation and global synthesis. And it opens with this great quote, which if Kathleen, you could just scroll back up to it, then I can refer everybody to that. Insects, along with other invertebrates, play a vital role in many terrestrial ecosystem processes. Conserving insects is conserving what they do as much as conserving them for their own sakes. Yet the task is vast and fraught with both challenges and opportunities, which we will explore here. So, really, I think a great quote that really, you could just interchange insects and humans there as a way to maybe talk about how our human embeddedness is in the landscape very obviously now. So, this is where this map, I think, is a great way to show where is, the historic habitat. I mean, you can see up in Westport, the butterfly was documented back in the 70s, but now it really only clings to four populations left in the world. The most thriving population being on Mount Hebo, and the most disjunct population being down to the south in Northern California at Lake Earl. And so, this species, Speyeria Zerene Hippolyta, was first listed in 1982 and is currently warranted as endangered. And these numbers are continuing to decline at an alarming rate, and that is in large part due to the loss of the butterfly's host plant, Viola Adunca. And today, the caterpillar and butterfly still depend on the leaves of Viola Adunca, and Viola Adunca's depletion and difficulties with the plant's reestablishment and quality is the underpinning of this research. So if we'll move to some of the great content that is out there, that why I made this story map, because I think there's so many great people, many of the great people who are on this call, who really have contributed in this collaborative effort to save the species. And there's a great video that we're not going to watch now, but I encourage you all to check out later, and really describing the issue well. And so moving to modern times, we're getting closer and closer to figuring out some of these issues, and I'm really hoping that this can help this little guy, the Hippolyta larva there that's being released on Saddle Mountain, to have what it needs. And as Xavier presented some great thought for food, I hope that this can be good food for thought for the caterpillar. So great content. Oregon Zoo released these butterflies onto Saddle Mountain last summer. So just lots going on with this project, and it fits into a larger context. And so that larger landscape context is really key. And this is a nice shot from Nestucca, where one of the mats and plug planting sites is. And I just like this because, once again, it gets at some of my interests in art and ecology. I'm trying to show people a picture, in this case static, but also if you look off there into the distance, that's Mount Hebo, where the population is. So thinking about this connectivity and getting people to see that, I think, is what I hope this story map can help provide. So, there are many habitats along the Oregon coast where the butterfly once existed, such as this environment at Cascade Head. And now it has become extirpated, as you can see on that map. And so, another important piece of my research project is that this idea for using coconut coir mats really came out of out of community input from a coastal prairie charrette process that was facilitated by myself, the U.S. Forest Service, and local high school students out on the Oregon coast. Basically, came up with we need a new way, and this is a great way to show, once you lose the butterfly, you have to start turning to new resources such as small mammals to be able to understand the health and functionality of the ecosystem. So we've got great places to try this out. So, my research question is pretty simple, and that's, to try and really understand and see if we can reject this null hypothesis that this won't work, but that will planting vegetative mats growing the early blue violet, Romer's fescue, and beech strawberry made from coconut coir and alder chips promote the early blue violet's ability to establish and maintain interstitial spacing within the mat more effectively than traditional plug planting techniques. So what do I mean by interstitial spacing? Well, if we move to Mount Hebo, and if you want to, Kathleen, click on the in protection there, you can see environments where the butterfly, in this case, I got a picture of them actually mating. Actually, Kathleen, you just click that one on the right there. There you go. So this is Mount Hebo, and you can see, just from this shot, this nice rocky, low-growing, low-nutrient environment and that's where the butterfly and the violet thrive. So it's really been a great reference site, and all the work that the Forest Service has done has really guided my understanding, and the work of Doug Glavich and others who have pointed me to other species to maybe look at associations with, provide some future direction. So within that landscape connectivity, we also need to think about where can we expand the habitat. And so many of our conservation projects seem like postage stamps, but this is, I think, a great opportunity. And if we move to the next area, number 2, that is a nice shot of where of Nestucca, where actually prescribed burning has been allowed to occur, as well as a lot of herbicide use, which is actually one of the reasons why we haven't seen as much recovery of the early blue violet in other environments. But scraping has been something that's come out of this study as a possibility for an alternative to fire, I think, because that picture you saw there was from Viola Adunca that had been seeded in 2014, I believe. So, if you disturb it, it may come. And so when we look forward, this was the only shot I got actually this summer out at Nestucca of a Oregon silver spot butterfly in flight. So, it really gives you an understanding of when we're talking numbers here, 1 or 2 salmon in the stream is not necessarily an accomplishment. We want this to be a stand indicator on the landscape. And so that's where, really think about this as a telltale of that is important. So, and the last one, quick to there, Cascade Head, where I used to be a denizen of and still love, if you click to the next, is the next environment, where I think we have a great opportunity to connect these pieces. Just on the right there, Kathleen. The picture, yep. There you go. So this is Cascade Head, the elk out there. You can see plenty of prairie space, but the violet is missing because of some of these pasture grasses that have come in and depleted the violet's ability to grow. So moving on, we'll get into my methods. So I, in part in conjunction with my time with the Evergreen State College and the Master Environmental Studies program, I also was a prairie conservation nursery technician, prairie conservation nursery coordinator for the Sustainability in Prisons project, and which was really a key and integral to my methods, because providing me the hoop house space, time, and seed was, I couldn't have done it without that. So I really want to give a shout out to SPP for all they've done for me. So germination and sowing was the first thing that we wanted to check out, because, it was understood that cold stratification does work for violet seed. So we wanted to try kind of a 2-combo approach of dry as well as wet germination sowing, cold wet germination sowing, so that we could get to some results and seeing violets occur in the mat. So this is the first violet that flowered in the mat. It is in a test media there of granulated granite. And, we moved to the sites and we planted out over 1,000 plugs, 36 mats across the sites, and 88 meters square of each treatment at each area. So, we're doing some mountain moving here, and it was certainly that, but I couldn't have done it without a little help from my friends. So This is a shot of the mats out on the move and then moving out of the hoop house. This is some of the hard sweat equity that went in to Rock Creek to scrape the area as one of the treatments. And then there's an image of a flail mower put on a back end of a tractor that was just dropped so that we could scrape down the top a couple inches of the soil, and then mowed on the other side. So we were really looking at this combination of variables, and that's what we'll get into in the results. So mats being outplanted at Rock Creek, and then these areas, which are really just amazing natural areas that we have in our backyard that I all want to encourage you all to go check out. Willipus, the closest forest, Nestucca. Oh, yeah, go down Nestucca there. So Nestucca, this is just, beautiful day in June. And I really like these pictures because I was able to capture, a lot of photo point monitoring here. But this is a nice one because you can really see the growth over time. So there the mats are in January prior to pandemic, June, when I'm a man of Vanaplan getting this work done, and then moving to October when we have our final results. So really it's a cool journey to be, visiting these mats through time and getting at, what is, I think, a really great ecological experience. So moving along. These are just some shots just to show you. Rock Creek was a very vigorous area in terms of its plant growth. So there's a mat that you can see has really changed a lot. And some violets just down there left in the corner on the right side that you can kind of make out. But I just put that in for context. So, but most of the data was collected with an app that I built using Survey 123 Connect. And that really allowed me to create complex XLS tables that put all the data into groups. And so then I had to go back in and figure out how to turn all the groups into one data set so that I could get my analysis done and put that into R as well as ArcGIS Insights and run some statistical tests on it. So this is a really cool feature that I've learned, and I encourage all GIS students to explore this avenue of basically using ArcGIS Insights to interpret your data more easily to figure out what you really need. So let's see, Kathleen, if you want to click on the corner there that opens it up into a full screen, or actually on the upper left of the actual window box next to the scroll bar. Oh, no, down, down, down. Warmer. Yep, there you go. So, our results are really great because we have statistical significance. You can see based on the results of our Manganova test for October, it indicates that there is a statistically significant difference between plug planting type as well as the aerial cover for both native and non-native plants. So these are linked charts that show the interaction effect between the restoration treatment and the planting types for June and October. So you can see lots to look through here. I think one of the other cool things to look at is the viola cover at Willapa, because Willapa is one of the more degraded sites. It's getting the butterfly back, and it's actually had the best violet growth. So lots to look at here, and I don't want to cut into too much more time, but I do want to say that there are many future directions that this research can explore. Cost-benefit analysis of plugs versus mats, as well as the time it takes, seed predation, like my colleague Gina Smith looked at. Viola Adunca seed is predated upon, maybe the mats can protect that seed. Plant associations within the mat, as well as the germination from soil disturbance, as well as in the mat. And mats could provide a violet colony that we could use the seed banks to really promote these kind of small pieces that we need to fix on the landscape, as well as soil moisture in an age of climate change and moisture retention. But really, this idea of the precautionary principle through structural change, I think that's very important in a time where we're talking about the role of structural change. And if you don't change the structure, it's very hard to change the existence of life. So thank you all for your time. I want to thank my reader, Kathleen, the MES program, SPP, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the U.S. Forest Service, Oregon Zoo, my loving parents, Scott and Elaine, my sister, Kendra, and my partner, Maura.